Hello and welcome to another episode of Too Lazy to Read. I'm Nigel, and joining me is Clara, who has been promised a journey through ancient revelation, cosmic mind, spiritual rebirth, and a frankly reckless number of invisible realities.
Hello everyone, I am so ready for this one. Today we are doing the Way of Hermes, which sounds either like a mystical path to divine wisdom or a very expensive incense shop. Happily, it is the first one.
Very much the first one. Today we are diving into the core teachings of the Hermetica, using M. David Litwa's Hermetica one as our main guide and Walter Scott as our slightly severe old-school detective in the background. And this is an important distinction right away. We are not treating these as separate books to summarize one by one like a pile of unrelated pamphlets. We are treating them as a path.
Which I appreciate, because here are 19 floating ancient discourses. Good luck is not a path. That is a threat.
Exactly. Litwa gives us a way through. He arranges the famous Hermetic texts as a kind of initiation route. First, the introductory awakening, then the general teachings about God and the cosmos, then the more detailed teachings about mind and reality, and finally the revelatory texts about rebirth, ascent, and thanksgiving.
So instead of ancient weirdness in random order, we get a spiritual storyline.
Precisely. A real progression. You begin asleep in ordinary life. Then you wake up. Then you learn what kind of universe this actually is. Then you learn what a human being is. Then you find out what kind of mind you really have. Then, if all goes well, you are reborn into a higher kind of life and end up praising God with language that sounds equal parts ecstatic hymn and metaphysical electricity.
Good. Love a manageable little journey. Just some self-knowledge, cosmic architecture, and becoming godlike before dinner.
The usual. Now, before we step onto the path itself, let's get one thing straight. When people hear the word hermetic, they often think of internet, quote, graphics, magic secrets, alchemy, as above, so below, or men on podcasts speaking with great confidence about frequencies they absolutely do not understand.
A genre that has not suffered from a shortage of confidence.
Not in the slightest. But the texts we are dealing with here are something more serious and more interesting. Walter Scott, one of the early major English editors of the Hermetica, made a clear distinction between the philosophical or religious Hermetica and the big mass of occult and technical stuff later linked to Hermes. The writings we're dealing with here are the spiritual philosophical ones. Conversations about God, the soul, mind, the cosmos, fate, rebirth, knowledge, deathlessness.
So less how to turn lead into gold, and more how to stop being spiritually asleep.
Exactly. And Scott also had a very helpful picture of who might have written these texts. Not one single ancient super-author named Hermes Trismegistus sitting in a golden robe writing 17 perfect mystical booklets between lunch and sunset. Rather, he pictured Roman Egypt, people trained in Greek philosophy, especially Platonism, but hungry for more than school exercises. People trying to build a living religion out of philosophy, reverence, and spiritual practice. Small circles, teachers and students, serious talks, short written records passed around. That is a very useful way to imagine this literature.
So not one grand founder, but a tradition wearing one legendary name.
Yes. Hermes Trismegistus is the great mask or the great voice of the tradition. Hermes because of the Greek god associated with wisdom, interpretation, and mediation. Trismegistus, the thrice great, because apparently regular greatness was not enough. And behind that name are Greco-Egyptian thinkers trying to answer a very large question. How does a human being wake up to what is truly real?
Which, to be fair, is a very strong question. Better than modern self-help, where the large question is usually, have you considered becoming more efficient while anxious?
Indeed. Hermes has bigger plans for you than inbox management. Now, one more important point before we begin. Litwa's big contribution in this book is not only